of human experience, few journeys are as profound as haunting, and as eternally poetic as Dante's ascent from the abyss of Purgatorio to the celestial realms of Paradiso. Imagine, if you will, standing at the threshold of the unknown, where every step is fraught with existential dread and ethereal wonder. Here, Dante Alighieri, guided by the luminous Beatrice, transcends mortal boundaries, navigating a realm where souls strive for redemption and where the divine order reveals its sublime architecture. Amidst the swirling mists of purgatory, the penitent souls climb the sacred mountain, each burdened by their earthly sins, each step a struggle towards purification. With bated breath, Dante ascends this purgatorial path, his heart heavy with the echoes of suffering and hope. A tale of suspense and salvation that grips the soul with its relentless intensity. As he crosses into the celestial spheres of Paradiso, the narrative shifts to a crescendo of dramatic revelation. Radiant orbs of light and celestial harmonies envelop Dante, unveiling the mysteries of the divine cosmos. Join Dante as he dares to illuminate the path to salvation, where every verse pulses with the drama of human destiny and the eternal quest for divine grace. Before we begin, a brief explanation of the concept of purgatory may provide some context. The Bible doesn't explicitly mention purgatory by name, but it does suggest that punishment after death may not always be eternal. In some cases, it may only be temporary, and once one's debt has been repaid, there is hope of joining others in paradise. To explain as simply as possible, both hell and paradise are considered eternal realms by Dante. Purgatory is different, as it is the only realm that is not eternal. Those who come here may not be ready for hell or paradise. Instead, they are given the chance to cleanse their sins and grow as individuals. When the time for the last judgment arrives, all souls in purgatory will be sent either to hell or paradise, and the realm of purgatory will cease to exist entirely. At the base of the mountain, Dante and Virgil meet an old man named Cato, who guards the entrance. Naturally, he is hesitant to let them pass, unsure how Dante and Virgil were able to escape from hell. Virgil explains their journey thus far, and how it would only be possible for them to escape if God himself allowed it. Cato is persuaded and allows them to pass, but only if Virgil wraps a reed around Dante and washes his face in a ritual that represents baptism. An interesting thing to note is that Cato is described as a virtuous pagan, placed in purgatory by God himself, which is rather strange because he could be found in the first circle of hell and also committed suicide. Many have discussed the significance of Cato being in purgatory. In the first circle of hell, souls are ferried across the river by Charon, the boatman, their faces etched with worry and anguish. Here they are transported to the foot of the mountain by an angel singing songs of hope and joy. Upon arrival at the shore, the angel vanishes, leaving the crowd to gather around Dante, realizing he's not actually dead. Fortunately, Cato intervenes, dispersing the crowd. At the mountain's base, Dante and Virgil contemplate their ascent as souls pass by. The first two sections of the mountain, known as anti-purgatory, await them. The first slope harbors the excommunicated, those banished from the Christian church. Among them they meet Manfred, the last king of Sicily, who recounts his death at the Battle of Benevento. Despite suffering fatal wounds, Manfred repented on the battlefield, yet Pope Clement IV had his body excommunicated posthumously, condemning him to hell. Manfred reveals that the prayers of the living can reduce time in purgatory. He implores Dante to inform his daughter that he is in purgatory, not hell, and her prayers may hasten his passage to paradise. Before reaching the terraces, there is another part of anti-purgatory for those too late or lazy to repent. Many of these souls died before receiving last rites due to violent or unexpected deaths. Dante encounters a group of souls beneath a boulder and engages in conversation. One man speaks of betrayal while fleeing his hometown. Another recounts dying in a riverbed after a battle. He describes how an angel and a demon argued over his fate. Lastly, a woman named Pia de Tolomei tells of her murder by her husband, who betrayed their marriage vows. She pleads with Dante to pray for her, as her family does not, so she might leave Purgatory. Dante begins to notice how keenly all the souls in Purgatory are drawn to him, or more precisely, to the fact that he is not among the dead. This grants him a unique power, the ability to pray for them and lessen their time in this realm. Their next encounter is with Sordello, a minstrel from Virgil's hometown. Sordello reveals the mountain's rule. After sunset, the souls in Purgatory are forbidden to climb. They may descend to rest, but cannot ascend. The sun, an allegory for God, signifies that these souls can only advance in their penitent Christian journey through His divine grace. As the day wanes, they seek a place to rest. Sordello guides them to the Valley of Princes, where the spirits sing hymns reminiscent of night prayers in Christian churches. In the Inferno, we witness sins rooted in physical actions, but in Purgatory, Dante's focus shifts to self-improvement, tackling emotional and psychological sins. The first terrace is dedicated to the sin of pride. As they enter, Dante is captivated by beautiful sculptures representing humility, the virtue opposite to pride. These sculptures depict iconic figures like the Virgin Mary and the Angel Gabriel, classic exemplars of humility. Virgil gently pulls Dante away from the mesmerizing sculptures, pointing towards the prideful souls who can guide them to the next terrace. These souls are barely visible, hunched over under the immense burden of enormous weights on their backs. They encounter a man who, despite his inability to look upwards, offers his help. This man is Umberto, whose overwhelming pride led to his downfall, causing great suffering to himself and his family. Now, he slowly learns humility. Ahead of Umberto is Oderisi, a once renowned artist who was overshadowed by a younger talent. He now understands that in the grand tapestry of life, human fame is fleeting and ultimately insignificant. As Dante speaks with these souls, he finds himself bending over to see their faces, thus beginning his own process of purification by imitating their suffering. As they journey onward, Dante acknowledges that pride is a sin he has also committed. This self-awareness marks a significant step in his path to self-improvement. He notices several grotesque statues and carvings, Lucifer plummeting from the heavens, Arachne transformed into a spider, and Briareus, a giant impaled by a thunderbolt. These images serve as stark reminders of the perils of succumbing to pride and ego. Reflecting on these scenes, Dante recalls times when his own pride clouded his judgment. Resolving to pray for the souls in this terrace, he receives their guidance on the path he must follow. As they arrive, they stand before the Angel of Humility, who escorts them to the stairway leading to the next terrace. With a gentle brush of his wing, the angel acknowledges that Dante's prideful sins have been absorbed, removing one of the P's from his forehead. Songs of joy fill the air as they leave, a stark contrast to the screams of hell. Dante feels lighter, finding the ascent easier, which Virgil attributes to the cleansing of his prideful sins. Each step forward will now lighten the burden further. The second terrace they reach is that of envy. At first, no other souls are visible, so Virgil uses the sun as a compass to guide them. Eventually, they come across souls dressed in black and blue, matching the terrace's somber hues. As they draw near, they hear these souls singing in unison, their hands resting on each other's shoulders. Dante soon realizes why. Their eyelids are sewn shut with iron wire, rendering them blind. This sight brings tears to his eyes, reminding him of the blind beggars on the streets. Despite Virgil's disapproval, Dante feels a need to speak to them and asks if any are from Italy. A woman named Sepia responds, confessing that she found more joy in the misfortune of others than in her own good fortune. She was consumed by envy, especially towards those in power. When she inquires about Dante's identity and why he is still alive, he explains that he will only be momentarily blinded, as he is more prideful than envious. Sepia agrees to guide them through the terrace in exchange for Dante's prayers once he returns to the living. To Dante's amusement, two souls ahead of him argue before noticing his presence. One soul admits to envying his neighbor's happiness, with his jealousy growing over time. As they continue, Dante hears the booming voices of the envious, serving as a cautionary chorus for the other souls. Among them, he hears the story of Cain, Before departing, Dante experiences several more visions that vividly represent the sin of wrath. Virgil awakens him as the sun's rays shine brightly upon them. From the light, they hear a melodious voice announcing that it's time to ascend to the next terrace. Dante, drawn by the beauty of this voice, approaches and is momentarily blinded. The angel of this terrace has come to guide them. As they climb the steps, the angel removes another P from Dante's forehead and bestows a blessing upon them. Night falls as they leave this terrace, and they step into the fourth terrace. Curious, Dante asks Virgil which vice they will confront here. Virgil explains that it is sloth, not merely physical laziness, but a deeper spiritual neglect that leads to sadness and depression. Using love as an example, Virgil describes two types of love: the love we choose, what or whom we love, and whether we love them too little or too much. Both can lead to mistakes. The second type of love is the love for God, which can never be wrong. When love for God is the priority, one cannot succumb to evil. However, this changes when that love is neglected. In Virgil's view, love drives all actions and decisions, forming the foundation of both virtues and vices. Those guilty of sloth have abandoned the pursuit of love, turning their backs on God and their own happiness. Most spirits in this terrace are too preoccupied to converse with Dante. Thus, Virgil guides him through the process of cleansing this vice, teaching him to rekindle his spiritual fervor and devotion. As the night deepens, Dante seeks rest and soon finds himself dreaming of a mesmerizing woman. This enchantress, a siren, embodies gluttony and lust, and Dante is drawn in by her seductive song. Unaware of the approach of a second, saintlier woman, he remains entranced. The second woman, displeased with Virgil for allowing this to happen, spurs Virgil into action. Realizing his error, Virgil rushes to the siren and tears away her garments. Instead of falling deeper into the spell, Dante is repulsed by the siren's putrid stench and sees her for the grotesque creature she truly is. Upon awakening, Dante and Virgil hurry to the entrance of the next terrace, where they are greeted by the Angel of Zeal. Having proved his resolve in his dream, Dante receives the angel's blessing and has another sin removed from his forehead. The final three terraces lie ahead, each dedicated to those who misplace their love or express it excessively: avarice, gluttony, and lust. The fifth terrace, folk avarice, symbolizing greed for material wealth and an insatiable ambition for power and status. As they traverse this terrace, they encounter penitent souls lying face down, chained to the ground, and weeping. When they seek directions, these souls advise them to take the path on the right if they do not share the same punishment. Dante converses with Pope Adrian, who is present due to his relentless pursuit of political power within the church. Over time, Adrian turned his focus from mortal concerns to the afterlife, leading him to purgatory rather than hell. Continuing their journey, they hear a female voice recounting the humble birth of Jesus in a stable, highlighting Mary's poverty. This narrative of humility and generosity becomes a common theme among the souls. Dante begins to hear stories of selflessness and charity. Fabricius, a Roman politician who refused bribes, exemplify the virtue of generosity. Dante and Virgil then meet Hugh Capet, the King of France, who shares his tales of generosity and the soul's discussions of charity by day and avarice by night. Suddenly, the ground shakes, startling Dante and Virgil. They take it as a sign to hasten their pace. Eventually, they come across a man compared to Jesus Christ after his resurrection, who questions their identity. Virgil explains that Dante was meant to reign with the righteous, but had strayed, and it is Virgil's duty to guide him back. Overjoyed, the man, a great admirer of Virgil's work, reveals himself as the Roman poet Statius. The tremor they felt signified a soul ready to ascend to paradise, this time Statius. He explains that Virgil's writings inspired his transformation. The angel of moderation greets them, removes another sin from Dante, and guides them to the next terrace. Statius decides to accompany Dante and Virgil on their journey through the remaining terraces. As the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the purgatorial landscape, Dante and Virgil approached terrace number 7, the domain of the lustful. A formidable wall of fire loomed before them, its flames dancing with an almost hypnotic intensity. They could see figures moving through the inferno, their silhouettes barely discernible against the roaring blaze. Dante hesitated, his heart pounding in his chest. The path ahead was fraught with danger, yet Virgil's calm presence reassured him. They watched as souls, repentant for their misdirected desires, brave the flames. These souls, seeking redemption for their lustful acts, invoked memories of Sodom and Gomorrah, the sinful cities of old. The angel of chastity appeared, ethereal and serene, urging them forward. The angel's presence was a beacon of hope, a promise of purity and forgiveness. But Dante's feet remained rooted to the ground, fear coursing through his veins. "Fear not," Virgil intoned, his voice steady and unwavering. "This is not hell. Here death does not await you. Trust in me, as you have before." Summoning his faith, Dante took a deep breath and stepped into the fire. The heat was intense, but he felt an inexplicable sense of peace, a divine protection enveloping him. On the other side, another set of steps awaited, ascending into the twilight. They rested there, the quiet serenity of the night wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. At dawn, the first light of daybreak painted the sky in hues of pink and gold. Renewed, Dante and his guides climbed the steps to the very summit. Here, Virgil turned to him, a proud smile on his face. "You are free now, Dante. You no longer need my guidance. Go forth and explore the earthly paradise on your own." Virgil's words carried a bittersweet finality. "Wait no further word or sign from me. Your will is free, erect and whole. To act against that will would be to err. Therefore I crown and mitre you over yourself." Dante felt a rush of emotions, joy, liberation, and a pang of sorrow. He was free from Purgatory, but he also sensed that these would be the last words he would ever hear from his guide, mentor, and friend. With a heavy heart, yet a renewed spirit, Dante set forth into the unknown, ready to embrace his newfound freedom. At the summit of Mount Purgatory lies the earthly paradise, a realm that echoes the untouched beauty of the Garden of Eden. The air is filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the gentle rustle of leaves, a stark contrast to the arduous journey Dante and Virgil have undertaken. The lush greenery and serene surroundings evoke a sense of peace that permeates the soul. Turning around, Dante sees his companions' faces alight with serene smiles. Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light streaks through the forest, and when his vision clears, he sees what appears to be 7 trees in the distance. As he draws nearer, he realizes they form a magnificent candelabrum, with flames from its candles illuminating the sky. This celestial light procession is followed closely by a host of people, all clad in pristine white. Dante describes 24 elders, their heads crowned with lilies, moving with dignified grace. Behind them, 4 majestic animals, each adorned with crowns of green leaves and possessing wings studded with eyes. Next, a grand chariot, drawn by a regal griffin, comes into view. On its right, 3 women dance in harmony, their dresses a vibrant array of colors. One in resplendent red, another in lush emerald, and the third in pure white. To the left, 4 more women in deep red and purple join the dance. Following the chariot are 7 men, 2 venerable elders, 4 humble men, and 1 solitary figure, walking with quiet purpose. Dante stands in awe, absorbing the profound symbolism and beauty of the scene. The earthly paradise reveals itself as a place of redemption and a testament to the enduring power of faith and virtue. Much of the Divine Comedy feels like stepping into a vivid dream. The narrative is often so intricate that it's easy to lose track of what's happening. In a way, the elaborate processions within the story mirror the grand church ceremonies once common in the Roman Empire. Every element of this ritual is steeped in symbolism, drawing heavily from both the New and Old Testament. As the chariot comes to a halt, angels rise and cast flowers into the air. From this floral shower emerges a woman in a red dress and white veil, crowned with olive branches. Dante immediately recognizes her as Beatrice. Turning to share this revelation with Virgil, he finds his friend has vanished. Beatrice represents the divine path that Dante must now follow. Virgil, a virtuous pagan from Inferno, could guide him through hell and purgatory, but he couldn't take him into heaven. For that, Dante needs a true believer. We witness the poignant moment as Virgil passes the torch to Beatrice. Dante sheds a tear for his loyal companion who has guided him thus far, but Beatrice gently admonishes him, reminding him that the earthly paradise is no place for sorrow. Dante confesses to Beatrice that, after her death, he sought solace in material possession. She chastises him, asserting that her passing should have inspired the opposite reaction. She urges Dante to confront his sins, and he does, feeling a growing sense of shame. Eventually, Beatrice removes her veil, and the sight overwhelms Dante to the point of fainting. When he regains consciousness, he finds himself being placed in the river Lethe by a young woman, assisted by Statius. This signifies the cleansing of his memory of past sins. The next river he encounters is the river Euno, from which he must drink to restore the memory of his virtuous deeds. Now purified, Dante is ready to ascend to paradise. The final canto concludes with these words: "From that most holy wave I now return to Beatrice remade, as new trees are renewed when they bring forth new boughs. I was pure and prepared to climb unto the stars." Envision Earth as the nucleus of the cosmos, enveloped by 9 celestial spheres. Dante embarks on a transformative journey through each of these spheres, with Beatrice guiding him to unravel the theological mysteries and profound concepts that define them. With each sphere he ascends, his understanding deepens and his consciousness broadens. Upon mastering the wisdom of all 9 spheres, Dante is granted entry to the Empyrean, the supreme heaven and God's abode. Much like the 9 terraces of Purgatory, crowned by the earthly paradise, heaven too is structured in a similar fashion. There are 9 heavenly spheres, culminating in the Empyrean, the 10th and ultimate realm. Dante's celestial voyage begins in the earthly paradise atop Mount Purgatory, spanning a mere 24 hours and completing his ascent from hell to heaven in approximately a week. Dante and Beatrice commence their ethereal ascent. When Dante questions this extraordinary progression, Beatrice elucidates that a soul, once liberated from earthly cravings, is instinctively drawn toward God, enabling it to soar unencumbered to the divine realms. The initial heavenly sphere they encounter is the moon, symbolizing inconstancy. Dante is intrigued by the dark marks on the moon's surface as seen from Earth. Beatrice encourages him to deduce their origin, sparking a scientific discussion about matter and light concentration. Their debate is interrupted when Dante perceives nearby souls, mistaking them for mere reflections. Beatrice clarifies the lunar cycle and the moon's visibility, linking it to the theme of inconsistency. This lunar sphere houses souls who, for diverse reasons, forsook their vows to God, lacking what Beatrice terms the virtue of fortitude. Though saved, these souls have access to all heavenly spheres, but Dante's mortal perception of them remains limited. Dante engages in a poignant dialogue with the soul of Picarda, who was the sister of one of his friends. Picarda's tragic tale unfolds as she recounts how she was forcibly taken from her convent by malicious men, leading to her untimely death and the breaking of her sacred vow to God. Despite her lack of complete resistance, Beatrice points out that this act demonstrated a deficiency in the virtue of fortitude. Beatrice elaborates on the sanctity of vows to God, emphasizing that they must be undertaken with utmost seriousness and that every effort should be made to uphold them. Curious about redemption for broken promises, Dante inquires if atonement is possible. Beatrice explains that God's greatest gift to humanity is free will, and pledging oneself to God is akin to relinquishing this divine gift. Yet, the Church can release individuals from their vows under certain conditions. If a vow is assigned a certain value, making another vow of higher value can adjust rather than break the initial vow. However, if the initial vow is deemed priceless, it cannot be altered. The only exception is when keeping the vow would lead to a greater evil. Dante reflects on the story of King Agamemnon, who was willing to sacrifice his daughter during the Trojan War, as an example of a vow leading to a grave outcome. Next, Dante and Beatrice ascend to the second sphere, the planet Mercury. This sphere represents the ambitious souls, fame and glory, but lack the virtue of justice. Mercury's proximity to the sun makes it difficult to see, symbolizing how earthly glory pales in comparison to divine splendor. Here, Dante encounters the Roman Emperor Justinian, who dominates the narrative of this canto. In heaven, Justinian realizes that while his personal identity remains unchanged, The earthly glory he once sought has vanished. This sphere is reserved for those who prioritize self-interest. Emperor Constantine, who moved the capital of the Roman Empire from Rome to Byzantium, Constantinople, a decision symbolizing a departure from centuries of good leadership and turning away from God. Justinian then speaks of his own rule, highlighting how converting to Christianity enabled him to reform laws and bring peace to Rome. He underscores that many publicly pretend to support the Roman Church, but privately oppose it. In the celestial expanse, Dante and Beatrice ascend to the third sphere, the planet Venus. This realm, tied to the Roman goddess of love, houses the souls of lovers who lack temperance and self-restraint. As Dante experiences the sphere's potent influence, he finds Beatrice's beauty even more captivating than before. Here, he encounters the soul of Charles Martel, who laments his early death, believing he could have united Italy and brought harmony. The rest of his family, however, only sowed disaster and discord. Charles reveals that destiny and human nature are shaped by God's providence, not by one's lineage. Dante listens to other souls warning of love's potential for corruption, citing Florence as a cautionary tale of a city without temperance. Rising to the fourth sphere, Dante enters the realm of the sun, the domain of the wise. He encounters only exemplars of virtue, scholars, religious leaders, and philosophers who illuminate the world with their intellect. The sun's brilliance represents the enlightenment these souls bring to the universe. Among the luminaries, Dante meets Thomas Aquinas, King Solomon, Peter Lombard, and many others. Aquinas explains the randomness of creation, as matter filtered through the spheres results in the unique nature of every individual, save for Christ and Adam, who were made perfect by God's direct hand. Dante witnesses bright lights symbolizing saintly orders that may have disagreed on earth, yet now coexist in peace and mutual love, transcending past conflicts. Ascending to the fifth, Dante and Beatrice arrive on Mars, the realm dedicated to the warriors of faith. This planet, linked to the Roman god of war, Mars, is the resting place of those who exhibited extraordinary fortitude and sacrificed their lives for God. Dante is mesmerized by the countless sparks of light, representing souls that form a massive Greek cross on the planet's surface, likening the site to the Milky Way. Among these radiant souls, Dante meets his great-great-grandfather, a crusader of the Second Crusade. This ancestor reminisces about the glory days of 12th century Florence and laments its current disarray. When Dante seeks insight into his own fate, he learns of the impending hardships, including his exile from Florence. However, he is also entrusted with a vital mission to chronicle his journey through hell, purgatory, and paradise for the world to understand. Next, they ascend to the sixth sphere, Jupiter, the domain of just rulers. Love justice, ye that judge the earth, with some forming the figure of an imperial eagle. The eagle, speaking to Dante, underscores the paramount importance of divine justice. Even when its workings surpass human understanding, divine justice remains steadfast, unlike the flawed justice of earthly rulers. The eagle's eyes are composed of illustrious figures like King David, Emperor Constantine, Hezekiah, William II of Sicily, and two notable pagans, Emperor Trajan and the Trojan hero Ripheus, who were redeemed by God's grace. Dante recalls encountering Trajan on the Terrace of Pride in Purgatory, surrounded by his soldiers. Questioning the fate of those born before Christ, Dante learns that Ripheus was so exceptionally worthy of grace that he was saved and made a Christian long before Christ's time. Is that salvation hinges on the belief in Jesus as the Messiah, irrespective of one's birth era, ensuring that everyone has a chance to ascend to heaven. Dante and Beatrice ascend to the seventh sphere, Saturn, where the souls who mastered self-restraint and temperance dwell. These souls climb an enormous golden ladder, coming extraordinarily close to the divine presence of God. In this sphere, Dante and the monk Peter Damian engage in deep discussions about the devotion and practices of Christians. Peter Damian laments the current state of the Church, while Saint Benedict voices his disappointment in his monks, who have grown more interested in material wealth than spiritual pursuits. Beatrice then encourages Dante to climb the golden ladder. From its height, Dante looks down and sees the earth as a tiny, insignificant speck, teaching him a profound lesson in perspective. Moving to the eighth sphere, Dante finds himself among the fixed stars representing faith, love, and hope. This realm is the home of the Church Triumphant. Overwhelmed by the presence of the Virgin Mary, Dante is tested by St. Peter on the nature of his faith, a challenge he successfully overcomes. St. James then appears to test Dante on the subject of hope. With newfound resolve, Dante passes test as well. Next, St. John, whose radiance blinds Dante, tests him on the subject of love. Using his experiences and new understanding of love, Dante passes the third and final test. His vision is restored, allowing him to see more clearly than ever before. Before leaving this sphere, St. Peter delivers a scathing denouncement of the modern church. Dante's journey continues to the ninth sphere, the primum mobile, the domain of the angels. This sphere, moved directly by God. Dante beholds a brilliant, burning light encircled by 9 rings of fire. Struggling to comprehend this vision, Beatrice explains that these rings represent the 9 ranks of angels, each orbiting around God's love. The angels, created at the same moment as the universe, radiate divine love throughout all the celestial spheres. Beatrice and Dante transcend into the Empyrean, a mystical realm that lies beyond the confines of physical existence, where time and space have no hold. This is the true paradise, often spoken of in reverent whispers. To fully grasp the marvels that surround him, Dante must drink from a radiant river of lights. Beatrice appears before him, more beautiful than ever, her presence magnified by the divine light. The souls here are enveloped in bliss, gathering in the form of a resplendent white rose. For the first time, Dante starts to comprehend the infinite happiness that permeates this place. As Beatrice joins the assembly of luminous souls, St. Bernard steps forward to guide Dante. In this celestial sphere, souls are ranked according to their merits, trusting in the divine judgment that governs them. Dante's gaze is drawn to the Virgin Mary, who shines with a brilliance that surpasses all others. St. Bernard prays to Mary, seeking her blessing for Dante, so he may have the strength to look directly into the light of God. With the prayer complete, Dante dares to gaze into the divine light. It is a sight beyond words, a brilliance so profound that he struggles to describe it. He perceives 3 distinct lights, 3 great circles that symbolize the Holy Trinity. These circles enable Dante to behold the human form of Christ. As he attempts to fathom how these circles interlock, he is suddenly overwhelmed by an intense wave of love. This overwhelming experience causes his memory to fade, leaving him aware only of his own free will. In this ultimate moment, Dante finally understands what it means to be in perfect unity and harmony with God's will. My desire and my will were being turned like a wheel, all at one speed, by the love which moves the sun and other stars. As Dante emerges from the depths of Inferno, climbs the steep terraces of Purgatorio, and ascends to the celestial heights of Paradiso, his journey is one of profound transformation and enlightenment. With every step is the darkest depths of human sin, the rigorous path of repentance, and finally, the radiant glory of divine love. Guided by the wisdom of Virgil, the purity of Beatrice, and the celestial insight of St. Bernard, Dante's soul evolves, shedding the weights of earthly existence and embracing the eternal truths of the divine. His epic voyage through these realms is a testament to the enduring human spirit's quest for redemption, understanding, and unity with the Creator. In the blinding light of the Empyrean, Dante's consciousness expands, allowing him to perceive the intricate beauty of the cosmos and the infinite love that sustains it. As he gazes into the light of God, the culmination of his odyssey, Dante's soul is enveloped in a profound sense of peace and fulfillment. From the infernal abyss to the divine heights, Dante's journey is not merely a physical traversal, but a spiritual awakening, a path that resonates with the eternal struggle and hope inherent in the human condition. His story, immortalized in his poetic masterpiece, serves as a beacon for all souls seeking the divine, a reminder that, through faith, love, and perseverance, we too can ascend and find our place in the grand tapestry of the divine order.